I'm Suzi Landolfi, and welcome to Be Crazy Well. Now, why would a therapist say that? Because we all have mental health struggles, even therapists. The good news is we have so much more information about how we can be crazy well. On my podcast, we don't focus on what's wrong with us. We want to know what happened to us. We're going to explore how trauma affected us, both negatively and positively. That's right. I said positively. It's called post-traumatic growth, and it's a real thing. Be Crazy Well will share mental health wellness practices, the newest mental health research, and most importantly, how we all get to create the person we deserve to be and the life we deserve to live. So join the mental health evolution and be crazy well. So, Matt Shepard, when I first called you on here, before I started recording, I said, we have to put some light on you. You had all this light behind you shining out, and you were dark. And no pun intended. No pun intended. Okay.
I was born like this.
I can only say this to you because people don't understand. So I grew up in a mixed race family, right? So we had blonde and blue eyed to Louis Armstrong black. I mean, it was everything in between, right? We said some of the most inappropriate racial, sexist things that you can't even imagine how off color, no pun intended again, or on color we were. So I have a brother-in-law, so I have nephews from my sister, and then my father was Native American, Black, and Italian. So I had all these aunties and cousins and stepbrothers. And so when people say inappropriate things, which I totally support, that we should be very mindful of what we say. I think back to my childhood, though, we said all kinds of shit to each other.
Oh yeah,
right.
So you got the whole enchilada.
Yeah, was that true in your family? Did you guys say shit that?
So in my upbringing, it was very strict and very spiritual.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if you know, like the children of people in the of the cloth, we're generally like, in front of you, we're godly or whatnot, and then behind closed doors, I was just a little rebel. So
Yeah. Well, I had a boyfriend who was the son of the pastor, and he did more bad shit than any kid.
yeah, it's funny because I think my mom used to think when I was in like high school that my friend was like a bad influence, but I think I was probably the worst influence, the bad influence on him.
Oh, that's the best. Everybody, I'm talking to Matt Shepard. I can't even tell you how honored I am to introduce you to Matt. There are people in our lives that struggle mightily, and then they do the most courageous work, and they humble me. And you're one of them, Matt Shepard. And I always thought that your name was foreshadowing. So your name's Shepard.
Yes.
Foreshadowing. It was to let you know there was already a plan in place. So, and so you're here because you are crazy well, Matt. We were just crazy at one time. Now the name of the podcast is Be Crazy Well, and you are. And I'm just going to tell everybody that I met you through Merging Vets and Players, which is an organization you and I both belong to. And I had the honor of meeting you actually quite early when I first got there. And we have stayed connected and supportive. And so something happened the other day that I don't know if you know this. And then I want you to explain to everybody who you are, a little bit of your military history, childhood military, and where you are now, because that's the most important part. So I get a call from a member, and he said, a dear friend of mine who I've known for years is really struggling, special operations guy and all of this, and he's in real trouble. and he's in Nashville. And he needs to get out of Nashville because he was with some people that promised him things that were not true. And he needs to come back out to California. And is there anybody you know? And I got to say, yes,
Ding, 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 ding.
here's his phone number. Here's a true, safe, generous, principled protector. And so I couldn't help but think of this, Suzi. You are calling Matt Shepard. You are giving his number out to be the shepherd that he's always deserved to be, and knowing the story. So I just want, I mean, how amazing is that? That this has happened, and how much all of us that know you are just in awe of what you've done. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the military, and then what happened after and where you are now.
So I was born and raised in Pasadena, California, in a, like I said, strict religious militant military household. As a child, I moved around a lot, so it was just a whole bunch of moving. Like I probably lived everywhere in my city, and then some, all around Los Angeles and the Los Angeles County. So yeah, I had one thing that sticks out to me in my childhood is a story my mom always tells is I think I was in kindergarten or preschool or first grade. I was real young. And she got a call from the teacher or from the principal because I was under my desk. And she said, well, he's just under his desk. And my mom was like, well, he's probably bored. You should probably be teaching him something that isn't boring him. So that right there kind of gives you like a little insight of, me. Um, let's see. I joined the Navy when I was 17. I wanted to get out of the house. I wanted to get far away from home. I was in, my mom was a single parent. I was one of four. And with that, my mom was very strict. And my mom would always say, if you don't like my rules, then you can get out. So when I was 17, I was like, I'm out of here. I chose the Navy because the Marines, the guy was an asshole. The guy was an asshole.
And proud of it.
Yeah. I actually had signed up to be a Marine, and the guy kept calling me, and he just was annoying me. So I went to when I signed up for the Navy, I went to the booth right next to his, and I just walked past him, and I was like, hey, boom. So with that being said, the Navy, I joined to see the world, and that's basically what I did. I excelled very quickly because in high school I was in NJROTC. So instead of starting out as an E1, I started out as an E2, and then in boot camp I got promoted to an E3. So just really quickly out the gate, I was excelling. By the time I got to my ship, within a year, I had made E4. And that's when I think I started, after about a year and a half in the service, I started kind of, I guess you would say declining. I was still doing pretty well. The thing about me is I kind of excel at things that I do. But the problem with that is I excel with the things I do just because of, me going above and beyond, not because I'm listening to instruction. So I did not listen. I just did what I did. And luckily it was better than.
Right. You wouldn't listen to instruction considering how your mother was. That's the last thing you want.
Yes,
right? That's
the
last thing.
Suzi, you always blow my mind. But yes, that I didn't want to listen to instruction. I just wanted to blaze my own trail and do my own thing. I knew I was good enough to do it, so I basically did what I wanted to do, and that started catching up to me in the service. Looking back on it now, I kind of see the structure that I needed. Uh, but so I got in trouble a few times, and long story short, I got kicked out for testing positive on a urinalysis for marijuana. Um, and the Navy at that time was not having that. So, so yeah, that kind of started my spiral, if you will. Or actually, you could back up a little bit because um, so when I first got to my ship, all I kept receiving was accolades and praise. So the first time I kind of got in trouble, then it was really me seeing, that I had messed up, and basically I saw people like turn on me, and that was new for me. That was pretty. That really threw me for a loop to see that. Um, so there's like a lot of things that I look back on now through like recovery and through therapy and all this stuff that I look back on like, oh wow, that was really a big part of my decline because I never really talked about this stuff. I just kind of held it in and it's like, oh, I'm okay. It's fine. It's all good. I didn't want to do this anyways. I just kept pretending. So once I got out the service, shortly after that, I had my son, and me and his mother were on and off, and we were a roller coaster to say the least. It was a very fiery relationship, um, but my son came out of it, and he kind of changed my trajectory. Um, with him being, small, and that's one of the points where mom was like, "You're coming home," and I didn't have a choice to listen. And I was like, "Okay, I'm coming home." So when I came home, she kind of laid down the rules, and I was like, "I'm grown now. I don't have to listen." So I still kind of did my own thing um, to an extent. I tried to get away with some things, and she wasn't having it. But when my son came into the world, then I was trying to not be uh, well. First and foremost, the Navy taught me how to drink.
Yes. How come no one
uh,
ever says that?
oh man, I mean, I remember when I was a youth in concert choir and we would sing the song "What Would You Do with the Drunken Sailor?" um, and until like I got to the service, I was like, wow, that's what that was about. Like, I mean, because we were literally pulling the port and we would drink and we would fight and the rest. But it was. I mean, I had a great time, but like it was one of those things where other countries they don't have the drinking limitations on the age as we do over here, and so there might have been stipulations on what we weren't supposed to do, but we were, we're pulling the port and having a good time. So it was quite the indoctrination, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, so getting out of the service and having this newfound skill, if you will, and then carrying the um, the shame of being kicked out of the service. And I didn't really want to talk to anybody about it, but I would always just want to hang out and party and act like everything was okay. So I quickly got started in working, because I didn't want to, I had to take care of my son. And one of the things that was a good thing was, my son was a newborn, so I wasn't trying to be, intoxicated around him. So that would kind of curb me from getting past the point. But mind you, I was still young, barely 21. So I was just getting to that age where I could drink. But then having my son, it was kind of like, okay, um, don't, but I think the older he got, the more I kind of started going down that rabbit hole because he was less fragile.
Yeah.
Um, so fast forward to uh, quite a while later, but I put myself in culinary school, um, and that was a good time as well. I don't know if I can't say it for all, but I feel like chefs are like the modern day rock stars, just in the kitchen doing what we do back there on the line. But we're making people happy with our food. So my using and drinking that kind of continued into there. As long as I was putting out a good product, that was then that's all I was worried about. And like I said, as my son was getting older, then I was kind of just drowning everything in alcohol. You know, as long as I showed up somewhere, smiling, or there was nothing wrong. And mind you, this whole time, I didn't think I had a problem drinking. I thought I had a problem if I wasn't drinking. There was going to be a problem. Um, so yeah, I was just blazing through life, just with a bottle in my hand, or and because I had got out of the service, and because I was ashamed of how I got out of the service, I didn't really like to talk about my military service. So friends would ask, and I would kind of curb the conversation and,
Yeah.
just kind of numb it with alcohol. Um, and I to this day still don't really think my mother knows the reason I got out. I think she thinks because it was fighting. It's, I think she's one of the people that have seen my temper. I say I don't really have a temper, but I do. It's one of those passive aggressive things where you have to know my buttons to push them. But when you push them, then I kind of will passive aggressively let you know. Um, so not wanting to associate with any um, any of my military background or any of that, that was a big thing, and I was just going down this rabbit hole of it was just getting bad. It was getting bad and bad and bad and badder and
Yeah.
badder and baddest.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
but long story short about that, I had linked back up with my baby's mother after quite a while, and we had decided that we are going to try to work things out, and that just went like a match in gasoline. It just went horribly wrong quick. So all our attempts to work on things just, didn't go well. And during that time, it was some of the worst periods of my life because I was kind of burning my own bridges and I was fighting with my family. I had lost my son um, to a CPS case in which, like, all of these things where these things are happening, and I was in and out of jails, and I didn't want to acknowledge that I knew it was my fault. I knew my part in it, but I didn't want to acknowledge that anybody else cared enough. So I was just like, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. They know me as a screw up, like, and which is quite the opposite now that I think about it. My family has always kind of looked up to me and known my intelligence or whatnot.
Right.
I've always been the type of person in my family that brings light into the situation when there's darkness. So in my head, I was portraying what I thought that they thought of me. Um, so basically, I think it was the last time that I was in jail for just, something stupid. But at this time I was homeless and I was living on the street. So um, the last time I was in there, my roommate, my cellie, he was a Marine, and he said, "Hey, you know what? Like, you need to just go to the VA. There's a campus in West LA, and you need to just go to a program and sign up for it, and just get the hell out of here." Um, and at the time, I was in Orange County, and he said, "Yeah, just get out of Orange County, go to LA, and figure it out. You know, just get away from everybody you know down here." And I was afraid because LA County was where my family was, and Orange County where I could just run wild and do my thing.
Yeah.
So
Nobody recognized.
yeah. So so I had to own up to it, and I had to face that I needed to make changes, and that the only person that would change the way that was the trajectory of everything that was going down was me. So I went to the West LA VA and got enrolled into transitional housing, which was at the time called HBC, the Hollywood Vet Center. And from there, like, everything changed. Um, a big part of my recovery, my recovery has always been fitness, because when I grew up as a tiny stick.
No.
I was a twig. So when I joined the Navy, like, within a couple of months of me just eating everything in sight and working out for like 50 million hours a day, like, I actually got weight on me, and people were surprised, like, "Whoa, you got big." And so I've always seen myself, even to this day now, I have trouble with seeing myself as the actual size that I am. I think it's called like body dysmorphia or something.
Right.
Because I still, in my head, I'm still a skinny guy.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
like
not,
I'm
I'm
still young and without wrinkles and black hair and tall. Got it.
not.
Got it. I totally got it. I totally
Yeah, I think I'm like 90 pounds soaking wet, and I weigh 250.
right.
So, um, so when I would never acknowledge that, you know, that I'm not this person anymore, and I still have trouble with it. But I put mirrors around, so I'm like, "Oh, hey, look, that's you." Um, so fitness has always been like kind of one of those things where I just get into it. I jump in the deep end and I just go hard, and that gets me out of my head.
Mhm.
Um, with that, I have addictive personality, so I go all the way overboard with it.
Right, right.
Um, so when I got to HBC, they had a gym there, and I said, "Yes, I'm gonna just use the gym, and I'm not gonna use anymore, and I'm just gonna use all these options that are good for me." Because there they had counseling, they had this is my first introduction to mindfulness meditation and yoga. Oh my God, yoga! Just all these things, and every month they would do an outing. And on top of this being my first introduction to like uh, therapy and healing, this was also me plugging back into the community, the veteran community, back into the thing that I was most hurt from. So I made a lot of healing there. I made a lot of growth there, and with that, just the community that was there, like, a lot of people there are MVP members, and we were on the Zoom call last night, and one of the topics was just show up. And that's one of the things I did. I just showed up. And I didn't really have to have a reason. In my head, there was nothing to do. Like, hey, show up. There's a gym, just work out. Sounds good to me. Um, Another part of my healing when I was at the Hollywood Vet Center was just, I kind of saw people doing things that I wanted to do, as far as community service, helping people, being mentors, this, that, and the other. So I just kind of attached myself to those people. And wherever they would do something, I said, hey, whatever you're doing, I just want to do that. Let me know when you're doing that, and I want to be there.
Right.
And with that, just great opportunities came. Like I learned, that I am a person of service, and I don't really feel fulfilled. I feel like there's a void unless I'm fulfilling some part of service, and service work or service orientator. Given what can I do to give? Because my addiction wants to take away from me. It just wants to drain me. It wants to tell me all kind of negative things and just take. It's just sucking out of me. Um, so with that, I found MVP. That was that the members there and the relationship and the community that I built there was um, there's there's not really, I can't put it into words because that's like all those would be lifelong bonds. Like that's the brotherhood. It's a family of people that you from the outside looking in, you would think, oh, look at these big tough badasses. And, we're all just waiting to get into a room and like push some weight and cry and just let it all out. Just,
Yeah, right. You guys are the best criers. Men
I mean, and the strength from letting go of things that hurt you, like pain. For some reason in my head, I think, oh, holding on to pain really is going to make me stronger. It just hurts me. That's
yeah,
all it does is it hurts me,
yeah.
and it doesn't
Tires you
allow
out,
me to heal.
wears you down. Yeah, it doesn't do anything for you. You're absolutely right. It's the idea of facing it. I always say that buffalo, when they see a storm coming, cattle run away from it and they end up being in the
Hmm.
storm longer, and then they freeze to death, where bison and buffalo face the storm and run right for it. They
Oh
face
wow,
right and go right through it quicker, easier, come out all snowy and cold. But that's what they do. They face that. So you're right. And when you turn and face that storm, that pain, so much better.
absolutely. I'm gonna have to write that down in my notes. You always drop gems on me. And I'm like, oh yes, I
You
have
are a
aha
bison.
moments.
You are a bison. You know, I want to go into MVP a little bit. And you did something. It wasn't like you just found healing and recovery and everything was wonderful. I had the opportunity to watch you, try and really do, and then slip, and then do and slip, and get in deep and tell the truth, and then get some time and then do again. I got to tell you, Matt, it's very few times in my life, even with my own family, where I said, there's no stopping this guy. Like, he's going to keep doing this until he gets it. All I got to do is keep trying to figure out what I can throw at him for him to do, right? Because yeah, it's like what your mother said to the teacher, for God's sakes, give him something to do. I didn't know that story. So all we needed to do is to keep finding more shit for you to do. And I mean recovery things to do, right?
Hmm.
Like
Absolutely.
you went to Nashville. You're in Nashville because you had the courage to leave LA and said, that's it. I got to go and do this recovery thing. Suzi set up this thing for me.
And it's so funny because when we had the talk before and you were like, hey, Matt, do you think you could do this? It's not going to hurt you. If anything, if you have a drinking problem, then give it a year and who knows, you'll go back to, if you're good. And I was like, yeah, I'll use that. And little did I know how you tricked me. But I mean, I look back on it now and, the the one of the main things was my roommate Andy, and she is sober, and one of her rules was, hey Matt, like I'm sober, I don't want any alcohol in the house. And I followed that rule for a while, and then it just started getting shaky. So I have to, I have to big up her for standing her ground, you know, and caring about, you know, there was a situation where I was gone for a couple of days and nobody knew where I was. It turns out I was helping another member. He was going through some stuff, but, you know, it was kind of one of those self-medicated journeys. And I had not told Andy where I was. And when I got back home, she was, distraught. And I was like, hey, what's wrong? And she was like, I thought something had happened to you. And normally, like the people that I know, they're just like, oh, Matt's just going on a binge or he's just doing his thing. So I've never really had anybody like call me out on that. So that was really an eye opener. And she's part of the reason that I really just was willing to do the work, seeing how that affected people that I cared for. Um, and when, Ryan Lee showed up at my door, I was like, hey, guy. It's like, this guy is huge. You got to knock down part of the door. But it's that willingness. And I remember you told me just be open and honest and go out there and give it a try. And, um, you know, a lot of times I can defeat myself by thinking
Yes.
because I'm a thinker.
Yeah.
I like to use logic. I will. I think I could think my way out of any situation, and in which I probably can. But I mean, the practicalities of it really, working. That's another thing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But
I don't know if
I
you
just.
go ahead. Keep
Oh,
going.
go ahead. Well, I had told myself, you know what, Matt, you think you know, just stop. So one of the things for me to stop thinking is for me to focus on something else. So like I said, I get involved in the gym, but that takes me out of my head. That's a place of zen for me. But then it can kind of get a little squirrely there. So if I'm not of service,
Right.
when I'm helping somebody else, it's helping me. I can't think about my issues. And I can actively help somebody with theirs and also help myself with mine because I'll be doing whatever it is and I won't be tearing myself down. I won't be
Right.
skittish on, oh, what if I do this? What if I do that? I'm just helping somebody out. And little does that person know they're helping me way more than I can ever help them.
Yeah.
So I figured that out after, hitting my head, like bumping it in the wall, I don't know how many times. And then with that is giving myself grace because I like to beat myself up
Oh,
when I don't get something right. Like somebody will give me a compliment and I'll be like, nah, but this could have been this and I could have done better. And I think you've mentioned it to me before, but my therapist out here said, hey Matt, you're like basically uh, when somebody's giving you a compliment or trying to tell you something nice, you're rejecting it. You're like offending them.
that's right.
On top of being mean to yourself, you're offending them.
That's right. Calling them a liar. You're
Yeah,
telling them that they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
exactly.
As opposed
And
to thank you.
yes. And the funny thing about that is um, if they had told me, hey, Matt, you're being a jerk to yourself, I would have been like, no, you're wrong. But when it's presented to me as, hey, you're calling that person a liar or you're offending that person, then I'm like, I am. So I'm just wired to really just lay it on myself and like, I wouldn't do that to the next person, but I would do it to myself all day. Um, so a lot of my healing and growth is unlearning behavior that has to be pointed out to me in a way that I can see it, because I'm such of an overthinker that I will logically make an excuse or, you know,
Yeah.
overthink it to where it's like, it's simple. Like,
Right.
just be kind to yourself. Like, we screw up, you're human. It's okay.
A couple of things that you said. You said that your mom was a single parent and there's four
Mhm.
kids. One of the things that I think is important is that we acknowledge that something happened to dad. And when a parent leaves, dies, doesn't show up, whatever it is that happens that makes them not accountable, present, and there, we take that personally. That's the only way children can take it.
Hmm.
Therefore, there must be something wrong with me, not good enough for me, something that I did. And therefore, that's why. I mean, you couldn't possibly at 2, 3, 4, 5, even 10 years old go, well, there's something wrong with dad. You're going to say, there's something wrong with me.
Hmm.
And I couldn't help but think that when you talked about, being kicked out of the Navy because you smoked pot, being kicked out, told that you're not good enough, you did something wrong, even did you did all these wonderful things. Now, I'm not saying the Navy's wrong for that. I get it. You talked about boundaries and how important they are. But that's going to bring back all those little thoughts of that little boy that dad kicked me out, dad left. You know what I mean? It's this core wound of lack of self-worth when a parent leaves and doesn't do what it is that they promised to do. And that's really important to remember, that a lot of the voices in your head are not even yours. They're not your thoughts. They were given to you. And then you have this mom who's got 4 kids going, the only way I'm going to get through this is here's the law and I'm it.
Hmm.
And that way, that's going to be all punishment and reward, good and bad. And so is many religious teachings. It's good and bad, right or wrong, good and evil. So you were trained well, Matt, to be able to see, I'm good, no, I'm bad now. Do you know what I mean? There's this fight within you from this, what we call black and white thinking. And what I love about what you've done is you've literally started to heal this idea that you just said it, like, I'm human. I do some good things. I do some stupid shit. Like we all,
Absolutely.
and you said the word that I've always loved and no one uses it anymore. You said, I got to give myself some grace. I mean, as a dancer, I had to be graceful, right? I had to be
Hmm.
um, there's all of this grace. And if you do study religions, many of religions have that word grace, to give grace. Before you eat, you say
Hmm.
grace,
Absolutely.
give grace. And I was thinking when you said that, I was like, oh my God, why couldn't we do more of that for ourselves and for others? And being of service really is giving grace to others.
Absolutely.
Yes, non-judgmental help. That is grace.
Wow. Non-judgmental. I need to get
Yeah.
my non-judgmental. You
Yeah.
say all of the gems.
Yeah.
And it's, it's funny because, being, when you kind of think you know it all, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I know that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suffer from
And
know-it-allism. I'm in recovery from know-it-allism.
yeah,
Trust me,
I'm,
I
I'm,
get it.
I'm very well versed in the college of know-it-all.
Yeah.
So, but it was one of those things where like, I knew there was some childhood trauma from working with you. And then we kind of touched the surface. And then when I got here, like we just started jackhammering and really going in. Um, but me being okay, so I'm the second born child, and then my younger brother and sister were years apart. So I would always have to watch them. My older brother would give me his chores, and I was like, cool, I'll do them. I remember when I stood up to him and was like, I'm not doing your chores, and he like kicked me across the room in front of his friends. And we laugh and joke about this story now because it is hilarious. But that's something that like things happen when you're a kid that kind of morphs your views on life.
right.
And those are things that, I can point those out now. And I knew that as a kid, but I didn't know that this was like traumatic or this was
That's
going
it.
to
Yes,
shape
that's
my,
exactly right. Oh,
I
say
didn't know it was going to, I didn't
right.
know it was going to shape my views of the outside world
That's right.
so heavily how it did. And then even back to my father, he was a great God fearing man. I love him to death, but he and my mom had divorced right before or during my birth or before my birth. And that's something that I didn't know that I have abandonment issues, but I know like, that's one of my biggest things that I'm working on today is like relationship issues because I think like, oh man, somebody's gonna leave me no matter how I don't feel like I deserve
That's
to
right.
be loved or whatever. Um so yeah, back to the right and wrong, whether I did right or wrong, being the second born, like it was all getting pinned on me anyway. So
Oh my God, I'm second born. I'm second born girl. And the second born boy. Like no one ever runs a race and say, I'm gonna be second. Yeah,
yeah.
give me
Yeah,
second place.
everything was pinned on me. So I started learning how to manipulate that to my, like, okay, well, you don't have to listen to me, but if you
Right.
don't, then I'm going to get us all in trouble.
That's
So,
right.
because I'm getting in trouble anyways. So
That's right. Right.
whether
Right.
I did it or I didn't do it. But those are, it's when I realize how much I don't know and am open to learning more. It's like, okay, yeah, I knew I did that, but why did I do that? Okay, now I have to open up and oh shit, that's why I did that.
Right.
This is why I think like this. This is why I view things like that. Like
Right. That's right. That's how
it's
you were trained, right?
yeah,
But
these behaviors are learned. Like
they are learned. And one of the things you did in the training, and think I didn't know this about your military career when you said how quickly you went through E1, 2, 3, and 4, is that you know how to train. So physical fitness is training.
mhm,
And what we never do is talk about mental and emotional training, right? So your childhood is your first basic training, just like you
mhm,
went to basic training in the Navy. And so this idea that we get to retrain mentally and emotionally our whole lives, intellectually, every time we read a new book, time
mhm,
we explore something new, you get to know. And there's two kinds of people in the world, Matt, only two. I know we'd like to do it through race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation. It makes it so nice to be so judgmental, but actually there's only two kinds of people in the world. There are people who want to know. They want to know. They're searchers, they're seekers, they're explorers. They want to read, they want to figure out, they want to own their shit. Let me own my shit.
yeah,
So like if I
yeah,
own it, then I can change it. If I don't own it, I can't change it. Did you do that? No, I didn't do that. Well, then you can't change it. You're not
yeah.
right. Okay. So there's those people. You're one of those people. I pride
Well,
myself.
I wasn't always
That's
because
right. I wasn't either. I
because I
wasn't
was like,
either.
no,
Yeah.
that's not me. I didn't do
That's not
that.
me. I was terrified of being wrong. That's right. Over there, my sister. And then there's people who don't want to know them. They either already think they do, or they are so scared of losing what they believe is the upper hand, the power, right? Those are all the isms: sexism, racism, homophobia. Those are all those isms. So that idea that I already know terrifies me. To live
Mhm.
in the I don't know is great. Now, some stuff I know, and there's still so much that I don't. But you know
Even when
what?
I know something, yeah. Even when I know something, I know like I'm not even at the top of what I know. I know.
That's,
Like, but I know enough.
that's right. And you want to know, and you keep wanting to know.
Hmm.
Like, not like. It's like you like something as opposed to being something. You are so unbelievably expansive now, so inspiring, so calm. I mean, I'm looking at you, and when I'm laying down, and they're just going to put the last over me, I'm going to say, whoa, whoa, wait. I met all these amazing people in my life that completely changed. They faced their fears. They were bisons. They did this. And Matt Shepard, you should meet Matt Shepard. I'm leaving, but you should meet Matt because that gives me this is the greatest gift that I can have. And you've given it to me. And watching you last night was, it's that sense of, I have hope. There's times in this world I get really scared about what we could do to each other. We've had horrific genocides and hurt in this world many times. And then I see you, and I watched you last night, and I went, oh my God, I don't even think he knows what he's done, who you've become, who you are now. And I know the potential was always there. You did the work to create this person, and I can't thank you enough. I'm so proud and grateful and inspired and honored to call you my friend and to watch your journey. And I don't know if you know this, but if you remember, so MVP has this wonderful relationship with the NFL because we obviously do vets and players. And you were the first person to go to NFL behavioral health program. And so not only did you go for you, you went for everybody. And you may not know this, but another member has gone through and he's doing really well.
Oh, wow.
You. So when you went through and you did this program and you continued, and that's why you're still in Nashville helping everybody else, you've inspired so many others and to go and to be that. So there are people in the world, I call them scouts, where they go out into the wilderness. And I'll come back and let you know how it was, like where the water is, how much food is there and everything. And you were our scout. You went out there and came back and said, this is great. This is what you deserve, all of you members, if you're struggling. Like there's places to go and to be. So I need to thank you for that.
Well, I thank you for pointing me to the horizon to go scout.
Go to that wilderness, young man.
All right.
So we're about out of time. Here's what I want to do. I would like you to come back, and I want to pick up here because I want to talk about what you're doing now.
Okay.
So all those people that say, okay, yeah, that was my story, and now I'm at that point where you were when you got on that plane to go to Nashville. Let's next week do it again and say, okay, so when I got here, this is what I learned. This is what I had to do. Here was the struggle. Here was what helped. And this is why I'm still here. Meaning that these are the choices now based on the work that you did. Does that sound like a plan?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that because I want to hear that story.
Absolutely.
And
I'll show up.
that other veteran that who I gave your number to, he's doing much better. I want you to know that. He actually just called me. I'm going to call him back. So thank you for me to be able to say, I know somebody in Nashville that is safe and principled and kind and is full of grace.
Absolutely.
Bless you. All right, Matt Shepard, we're going to put your bio and your picture and in there. And if people oftentimes do when they hear the podcast and say, is there any way I can get in touch with that guy? I'll let you know, and we'll make that happen for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Matt Shepard, you got the right name.
All right, Suzi.
Bless you. Welcome, everybody, to Be Crazy Well. And the song, by the way, Matt, is a theme song that was given to me to use by Calvin Love. Look him up online. He's a great songwriter. and performer, a great young man. You'll be surprised to see who he is because most people don't know him by that name. And he's really neat. And it's called Be Your Best Self. So you just
Your
did,
best self.
you're doing that. So for sure. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right, everybody. Until
Absolutely.
next time, be crazy well. Bless you, Matt Shepard.
Love.